The Dundee Design Festival at Westward Works is the first festival that celebrates design in the city. And it's a moment where people are coming together from across disciplines, from design, science, games, fashion, textiles, and architecture. And it's a real celebration of design that's happening not just in the city, but that's happening at kind of national and an international level. Lateral North are a good example of a young design agency who are shifting the perspective from one of a country in the north of the UK, but a country in the south of the Nordics.
So we have a timber, abstract, undulating map of Scotland. This looks to showcase a series of community projects throughout Scotland, highlighted on top of each of these raised stakes. We certainly like to think that there are already a lot of amazing community ideas and opportunities that maybe just haven't quite started yet. It's about getting these projects moving. We have a series of these, what we think are particularly interesting outcomes that are part of a bigger picture, something that is not necessarily just about an architectural building, it's actually about something a little bit bigger and wider than that. We can actually start reimagining ourselves as a frontier of opportunity rather than this periphery of Central Europe, effectively, and that is kind of like an ethos.
One of the key themes of the exhibition and the festival is healthcare design, design for health and well-being. You'll see stories by some of the clinicians at Ninewells Hospital working with medical artists, working with product designers to develop new tools and new methods to aid clinical diagnosis. And I think that's happening more and more. People are very aware of the stake that designers have with social responsibility.
This is a really important object. It's actually a ceramic hand for moulding rubber gloves. Its role on the project is to give us a found form for a hand so that we can experiment with materials and keep the focus on those materials rather than the shape that we're making the hands. One of our aspirations is to conceive of a service whereby an amputee would feel that it was their hand, that they had ownership of it before they even received it, because they'd been there at its conception and they'd chosen the materials for their own reasons.
I think widely the design industry in Scotland has become much closer linked to its user, its end user who you're designing for. It's less about the designers, the architects, the makers stipulating what the client needs, and more about listening and understanding and unpicking the scenarios that you're trying to respond to as a designer.
It's a puzzle game which introduces basic programming terminology and a bit of the logic. You don't need any previous experience. It's just meant to be something that's kind of, it's fun, it's satisfying in that kind of, I figured it out sort of way. I think it would be really nice if it did have the effect of encouraging some people to go into programming or take away some of that stigma that programming, or that's only for smart people sort of thing. So if we can break down some of those barriers by giving people access to something that gives them an introduction, then that would be really nice.
Sometimes the best ways to engage people is to put the tools in their hand. It's to put the pen and paper in their hand. What we're interested in is how we can engage people with design at all ages, from young people at kind of primary school, secondary school, all the way up to end of life and care home environments. If we say that design is everything and that everything connects, then everybody needs to have a contribution, everyone needs to participate. Some of the examples that we're showing are quite unlikely examples. I don't think it reads as a typical design festival, and I kind of hope that through all these oddities and peculiarities, people will find something that speaks to them and their experience.